My first question for you, Arlen, I'm so glad to be in this space with you and really excited about this opportunity.
Thank you.
Um, I listened to some of your podcasts, Your First Million. I've been reading your book, which is fantastic and really enjoyable. And I started to kind of process, what is the anatomy of Arlan Hamilton? Like, when you think about someone who has done what you have done, coming from where you came from, right? There have to be certain attributes, character attributes, strengths, right? Lessons, ways of looking at the world and approaching the world that make all of this possible. And so those are some of the things that I wanted to key into a little bit. And the first idea is this whole notion of self-belief. So you talk about self-belief in your book. I'd love to hear you talk about where that came from, because you had that seemingly at a very young age, just this idea that I can do this and I'm going to keep telling myself that this is who I am and who I'm going to be.
I think it comes from having a great imagination as a child, and also having a mother who never made me feel silly for saying something, anything, expressing myself. And I think that the combination probably is where it comes from. And I definitely, more in personal relationships, I definitely had issues where it took me years and years to get more confident with myself there. But when it comes to business, when it comes to my abilities and skills, I've just felt like there are a lot of things I can't do, but the things I can do well. And so it was that self-belief, that self-confidence that came from conviction of my own abilities. And also thinking, I think it's partially there's a sense of humor that is the underlying thread through everything, because there are many things I cannot do well. Don't get me to try to sing. Don't get me to try to, to play basketball. Let's do that. But I can do a few things, and I try to focus on that.
I love that. And the importance of a parent who does not, silence you, marginalize you, right? Tell you what you're not good at, and instead create a space where anything is possible for you. I think is a really more important part of people's journey than we sometimes give credence to. I love that. The next quality that I really keyed into is resilience. And I know you talk about resilience in your book. And the story where you said essentially all you need is one yes, right? You sent out 100 emails, all you need is one yes. That's ultimately what you got. And it led you to a new chapter in your life. So I know that one of the things that keeps us back, and I've been victim of this as well, is just the fear of rejection. So can you talk to us about not being afraid of rejection, about not receiving a no as somehow an indictment, right, on you or your skills or your potential? Talk to me about that one yes idea.
I just get so many no's every day still, even after investing in nearly 200 companies, going from homeless to raising and earning millions of dollars, having all this success, there's still more no's than there are yeses. And so that's always been the case, that those are the odds. You can just let that defeat you and tell you, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go for anything. It's too damaging. It's too scary. Or you can say, that's math. That's the math of doing anything worth doing. And I reframed that pretty early on, and I kept sharpening that reframing. And in the past 5-6 years, it just got really strong, because although I've had more success, the stakes get higher. So when I get a no today, the no's are in the millions of dollars or some opportunity. And if I hadn't figured this out, I'd be stuck multiple times. So yeah, I definitely know that there's math to it, and then there's learnings to it, and then sometimes there's no learnings. It's just wrong. It's the wrong.
It's just no. Yeah.
It's just they're wrong, and they'll see, sort of thing.
It's amazing how that simple reframe to its math liberates the mind. Like, I'm literally sitting here having an epiphany. I'm like, oh, you mean no doesn't mean that I can't, I shouldn't, I wasn't meant to, it'll never be. No is just the trade-off you get for right? The ultimate yes. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. I know it'll help people. The next thing I want to talk about is resourcefulness. So I'll be honest, when I first started reading the book and I was trying to glean these character attributes, right? These strengths, I was thinking grit, grit, grit. Well, the more I read, the grit for me turned to resourcefulness. And I think the pivot, grit, yes, but the resourcefulness is what really pulled through, because the pivot was when I was reading the Let's Get Information chapter. And you were talking about how you dove into information and how you used it to propel you forward. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about the power of information.
Yes, information it's a salve for a lot of things. For imposter syndrome, for stage fright, for me, it has been for both of those. Because what we're often worried about is seeming or looking foolish, or not being right, or making a mistake. And the more we understand about a topic, the more we know about it, the fewer mistakes we'll make, right? And so that's why I say, even going back to the first question, I dial in on things that I like and that I'm good at, and I double down on that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not being this multi-hyphenate, just really dialing in on what you know. And so I devour information when I'm working on something. I just launched a new company called Runner at hirerunner.co for fractional and temp to hire operations talent. And I didn't just put up, a website and say, hey, come believe me. I spent so much time, but not too much time, delving into the research. And I still, last night, we have 107 customers in the first month. We're doing
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And even last night, I was just diving into what podcasts can I listen to, what case studies can I look at, what current events can I look at that talk about what I'm working on, because I want to learn more about it every day. I want to be better at this every day. And that then helps me in the moment be resourceful, because I have these different tools to pull.
It reminds me, I love when you said, you wanted to know more, be prepared, but not too much. So this balance between preparation and feeling the need to be perfect and know everything that's going to happen and have all your contingencies laid out. That's a struggle, honestly, that I deal with today. Like, how do I make sure I'm prepared enough, but not over prepared? Like, how do you know when you're getting to the over preparation point?
What I do is I do it in parallel.
Yeah.
Because if you're waiting for perfection, you're never going to start, because it never comes. But you need to get started, but you also need to be well informed. And so I do it in parallel. I'm learning in public all the time.
Love it.
I am reframing things. I am changing my mind with the information that I get in real time. And so I definitely put a limit on it, like how long I'm going to be in research and development mode and how long I'm going to be out there. With the company, Hire Runner, we're learning so much right now in public. And so it's again about that bravery of, it's okay if we get some of this wrong, but it is not okay if we don't try, and it's not okay if we don't keep learning from it.
Yeah, I love it. You're definitely modeling, I think, that experimentation that leads us to better outcomes. So my last question for you, because I know we're almost at time, is you just talked about learning in public, which makes me think, of course, of your podcast, Your First Million. What did your first million make possible for you?
It happened, recently, and it made possible for me to have options. And I grew up poor, and as an adult, I've been scared of money and so scared by it and ruled by it. This gave me options. I poured most of it back into reinvesting in myself and in my companies across several platforms, and investing in others. So now I have a scholarship fund with my mother, and we've put scholarships at Oxford University, at Dillard HBCU, and others. And then I've been able to invest in other people's funds and kind of catalyze them in that way. But the biggest thing is it gave me options. I'll never have to worry about, and knock wood, I'll never have to worry about being homeless again, never have to worry about being hungry again. And with the things I was able to do and dream and achieve while I was hungry, imagine how, where I'll go fed.
Yeah. Amen. Well, Arlan, thank you so much for spending this time with me. It was a rich 12 minutes, my friend, and I'm truly inspired. I wish you the best with Hire Runner and every single thing you touch.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.